It's WrestleMania season here on Left Turn, Right Hooks, and we've got a great episode lined up for you today. We're talking Roman Reigns, CM Punk, so raise the ones, yell out clobbering time. It's going to be a grand time on today's episode. I've got a special guest lined up for today, our resident CM Punk expert and AEW expert as well. You can hear a lot from him. Can't wait to hear what he has to say, so stay tuned for episode number 38 of Left Turns, Right Hooks. It starts right now. All right, welcome to Left Turns, Right Hooks. I'm your host, Dan Lindsay, and I have the pleasure of doing another podcast with Joe Chasen today. It is wonderful to have him back in the pod. I haven't done an episode for a little while, so sorry that we haven't had any content for a little bit, but it's great to kick off another episode with Joe here. We are talking WrestleMania. We're getting a little bit of a WrestleMania preview, and specifically on the Roman Reigns and CM Punk match. That is going to be a banger of a match, to borrow from Sheamus. It should be a lot of fun. We both are looking forward to it, likely for a lot of different reasons. I think it's the well-deserved main event of the event as a whole. Main event night 2, of course, as they are saying it, but the penultimate, penultimate. I don't know if that's the right word. Anyway, it's the true main event if you wanted to go put a look at the card as a whole, and I think deservedly so. So, Joe, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on the podcast once again.
Hey, dude, it's awesome to be here. It's been so long. We've already been chatting, so I don't even need to ask you how you're doing. I know. It's great to be here. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this, man. Yeah, we'll talk a lot of stuff around the match, kind of leading up to the match, and I know I got some AEW thoughts. You're my resident CM Punk guy, and you're my resident AEW guy. So I'm looking forward to kind of encapsulating all this into one good conversation with you. And yeah, but let's start off. Well, I think it's been, WrestleMania builds are always hard, especially when you have one guy that's just truly, full-time, working every week, matches every few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Punk's defended the title 3-4 times, if my count is correct, since the beginning of the year. Maybe 5 times, I think, since the beginning of the year, and at least twice since Roman won the Rumble. But yeah, I know I felt their interactions between Roman and CM Punk have been interesting. I'd love to get your take on how these two have interacted over the last 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks. Just had Roman and Punk their latest interaction where Roman called him old. That I think was the biggest zinger that Roman had last night, the other night on Raw, and I don't think that was super impressive, but I'd love to get your thoughts on their interactions and the promos between the two since Roman won the Rumble.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and I think to your point, it was at least 7 or 8 times that Punk's defended it, which is good. It's good. It's been fun too because it's been on a lot of Monday night episodes and not just PLEs.
Yes.
So that's been really cool. So yeah, he's been great. I think he's kind of carried Monday night, for at least the last 4 or 5 months, basically since he's held it. So it's been cool. It's been a cool watch. He's definitely a reason you tune in on Monday. And yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think the takeaway of the feud so far, just if you had to sum it up really quickly kind of thing, it does feel a little one-sided. Roman's only been there twice. So just by pure math and visual, it's been Punk filling that any way they can when the other person isn't there. So it's not ideal. Maybe it'll build up these next. You forget that there's still 4 or 5 weeks. It's crazy.
Yeah. We have 4 weeks. We have 4 more Raws before WrestleMania.
Right. So plenty of time. Plenty of time, and they'll definitely ramp it up. It wouldn't shock me at all. The last 2, especially, to go home. But it's been good. I like it. It feels empty, kind of to your point, Punk. I feel like because he's been carrying it so much, he's just even better on the microphone. He says some pretty deep stuff 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's like, "I'm gonna bury you next to your dad," which is it was random, but it was it was deep and it was different. It wasn't PG kind of, And then the best thing Roman says is "you're old," and it's like, man, I like you know what's funny though? Like the thing that really ruined it for me, it wasn't the fact that he said it. He's Punk's 7 years older. It's 47 and 40. It's not
Yep.
like Roman. It's just it was silly. It was you see gray hair on Roman. Like it was
Right.
just kind of I don't know. It just didn't fit. But yeah, I like it so far. It'll be a great match. I almost feel like these promos don't matter. Everyone knows it's going to be a great match, so it's like you just don't really care as much. Is kind of what also I'm feeling too. But yeah, I like it. I'm glad they went that direction.
Yeah, and I mean, you obviously aren't going to have Roman really get in the ring, being part time, being who he is and stuff. You just won't really have him get in the ring just because of just the status of him. And I feel like it's, I don't know, the first time they interacted, I think it's, if we count the Raw right before we recorded this podcast, I think it's been 3 interactions in the ring with them. The
I
first
think
one,
two. The first one was the night after Rumble, so
Mhm.
they made it out like, really quick. The very next night he said I'm
Yep.
gonna face you,
Yep.
and then there's last night.
Yeah, and there's
Am
there's
I
one
missing
more.
one?
Yeah, there was one more. It was there's I think they did Roman Punk 2 weeks in a row, and then the Usos came out 2 Raws ago.
Yeah,
And
looking
yeah,
at the notes. When's Rumble face off? Roman Reigns Balor. Yeah,
yeah, because
he'll show up more. I hope because like
yeah, I mean, well,
he has to.
he has to. I don't know. Part of me is just curious about this because I feel like you know I don't know. On one hand, I don't like all the pull apart brawls that they constantly were doing at the end of last year, the beginning of this year. But I almost feel
Right.
like this kind of needs that. But again, Rumble was end of January. We had Chamber, and we weren't going to get Roman and Punk because of the Punk Balor stuff, which I thought was very interesting. Which I definitely want to get your thoughts on.
Yeah, it just filled some time. That's really all it did. It just filled some time.
Yeah, and he had to because of Roman's status, which is fine. I think he's definitely deserved it over the work that he put in from 2019 through 24. Being so full time for so long, rarely any breaks. So I think he's deserved it and everything. But I don't know it's kind of like they hit that high note of that great promo I thought between both of them. 'Cause I feel like they both traded zingers, and we really saw Roman's emotion of like, I just hate you. I truly hate you for what you've done to this industry, done to everything. It's weird. I feel it's
Right.
weird that he actually said that because I feel like he kind of stole some stuff from Seth. I think he
Oh,
kind of,
100%. Yeah.
and so like so you feel the same way Seth does. This is weird because you hate Seth, but again, they were both bloodline when in the Punk bloodline. There's definitely interactions there when on
It's
Rick.
it's it's one of those things like they Punk's been back 2 years now, or maybe three. I lost track. It's November of '03, I want to say. Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and this will be his third Mania. Missed the first one because he's hurt. So in a matter of 3 years, maybe 2.5 actually not hurt. Like being a part of the program. It's Roman and Seth in one, and him and Roman in the next, and this one is the first true main event. To your point, night two,
hmm
and it's a little shocking. Like it's crazy to think back when he returned. It was a big deal. Obviously, I just mean like it's so crazy that that ended up becoming the reality of it, where it's like, damn, like he's facing Roman, like they're giving him the guy, like 2 years in a row. Like it's
yeah,
kind of crazy.
yeah. No, it is, and like I said, I feel like they just they kicked it off the promo so well, and it's like you guys still have a month and a half of time to fill, and Roman is not gonna really do any kind
Right,
of
which is
action.
why I don't get why they felt like they needed to do it that following Monday. I mean,
Yeah.
clearly, they have the plan, I don't, but it's just like it feels like you, in theory, could have benefited from, you could at least hold on to it for like 3 weeks.
hmm
Just he's like, I'm pondering my decision, and
Yeah.
something. I always think back to every time I think of the Rumble winner and like who's gonna win the Rumble. I always think back to 2007 when Taker won, and he like showed up on Raw, and it was Cena, Batista, Lashley all stood there, and he like literally like chose them. That's how I always pictured it in my head. Instead, he just came out and he's like, I want to face CM Punk, and it's like, oh damn, you guys still have 3 months. Like, there's no build at all. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird. I feel like they're gonna probably have to use the Usos as filler for the next couple weeks. And I tell you what, I kind of saw this on some like
Oh, for sure.
fan pages the other a week or two, but I really wholeheartedly agree with it. They made really good points about Jimmy Uso is kind of the silent assassin here. And then kind of last night when Roman showed up to Raw, like he pulled up in the car and had that quick segment at the beginning of Raw, or early part of Raw. Like we when we've had all four of us together, when it's been me, you, and Chris um and everybody, it's just, and Tyler, it's been kind of a bash on Jay, and I finally came to that side
Rightfully
of bash
so.
on Jay. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like I see it more and more and more, and it's like last night he was just a glorified hype man, and I was like, how did last year happen?
Yeah, it's what he's
And
been.
that, and
It's
the
what
guy
he's
that
been
pushed
like
that,
the
I think,
whole
is now
time,
gone.
though.
No, he hasn't, and I mean,
Yeah.
I guess some people are just better with tag teams because I feel like, you know, Jay's always been strong with his words, but Jimmy's he's just he just kind of stands there, lets it soak it in, and then he's the one that'll really hit you. He was the one who really hit you hard.
Right.
And I think if it wasn't
Right.
for some, I think alcohol related, DUI related stuff, back to early days of the Bloodline, Jimmy might have gotten a little more of a push during that. And even the whole who's going to leave first
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah, I agree.
it was almost originally Jimmy, but then it was ended up Jimmy and Jay. It's just the whole thing's just interesting to me.
I don't,
In that regard.
I don't think like like the Usos like personally, I really feel like they're for a certain audience. I think they're mostly appealing for like, and this isn't meant to sound like insulting. If someone really really likes them, I think they're geared toward kids in a sense where like they'll sell the merch. They're still part of that PG product. Not to say that they don't have like serious moments in them for like major storylines, but I could never take him seriously. Like, and that's just maybe the way I've been watching the age that I came back to it.
Yeah.
Like it was cool the Jay trial as a champ. It wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. It was just not. He's
Was
also
definitely seen
competing
worse.
too against like if you do like the top guys, like it's Brock, Randy, Cody, Punk, like guys that are moving merch, like big box office
Hmm.
names, like beyond just the storyline, like they are big parts of it. And then you have Jey Uso, and you could name like three other guys. So it's just hard to it's hard to look at him and Jimmy for that matter, just because they're a tag team. They've
Yeah.
kind of
Always
typecasted
been a tag
themselves,
team.
not in a bad way, right? But like it's like the Hardys. It's like there's just certain groups that it's like it's them. Like they're
Yeah.
you know
I always feel like, I mean, we've seen from, I guess the Attitude Era and a little beyond the Attitude Era when you had the Hardys, Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys, like they're all known for their tag teams. And I feel like out of,
oh
like,
yeah,
except for Edge and
oh yeah,
Christian, all those guys when they had their own singles runs weren't as memorable as when they were a tag team. Now Edge and Christian I think are very different for very different reasons. Christian being in other organizations, and Edge being in AEW now as Cope, and stuff like that, which is awesome to see, and I can't wait for that stuff that we talk about later. But I just feel like it's so interesting that some people just are better. I feel as tag teams, and I think the Usos fall in that slot
hundred
to
percent.
where keep them as tag teams. They're entertaining. It and I guess I don't. I kind of mean it demeaning in a way, but I don't either. Like Jay being a hype man isn't a bad thing because you do need that as part of your tag team mix. But when that a guy like that is left on his own, it comes into what you and Tyler eventually got inside of. Was like, really, really.
I don't even hate all of it. Early on, it was fine. It was when when he stops mid match to do the thing and the music goes on is when I'm like, oh my god!
So,
Like maybe the first time, and then they just kept doing it. It was kind of
yeah,
unbelievable. It lasted like like a month and a half or two, and it was like, guys, like. Like how are you gonna keep doing this? Like it's like that when he did it in the elimination chamber, that's when I was like, no way! Like they
yeah.
should be like this should be a gnarly match. Like but
Or
either
no,
way, they're fine. I don't like that they're part of
Cage,
the
the
story.
Survivor Series. I think you mean.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
Yes, correct. War
two
games. Yeah,
two bit
that's
two
so
cages, war
crazy.
games. I couldn't even think of that. But well, I supposedly, when in the Rumble, and this will kind of segue into kind of something I wanted to ask you about with the Rumble, like when he started to do it, like he did it right before Brock came out, and supposedly, I don't know how true this is, but supposedly Brock was like yelling at a couple other wrestlers. I think it was Cody and LA Knight that eliminated him, but he was basically
Oh, I
trying.
saw that. You could like lip read it.
Supposedly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he
yeah. I
said,
saw
"I
that.
I don't want to hear this. Just eliminate me."
I assume it was two things. I assume there genuinely was a plan in there. Like he was like, I was, my part of my matches, I'm gone by the time he comes out. So he just, he heard it, then he went, all right, I got to get out of here. I'm not part of the. But then I'm sure there was an element of like, putting him and Brock in the same ring would just almost be bizarre. Like Brock would bury him, and I don't mean like physically, like out athleticize it. I mean definitely that, but I mean in a sense like their characters don't match.
Polar
Like they would
opposite.
just be so yeah.
Polar opposite. Yeah, it's crazy. But in speaking of the Rumble, like, what did you think of Roman winning the Rumble? Like, did you mind it? Did you hate it?
No, it was one of those things. Like he's such a major star. His post 4 year reign has been kind of interesting to watch. It feels like they don't 100% know what to do with him. Like it's kind of interesting. He hasn't won the belt into like it's a little. There's some interesting tidbits about his arc. So when he won, I was like, oh, okay, a top guy won. Like I'm not shocked by this per se. I was more like I touched on it earlier. Like I was more interested. Like damn, like very next night, he like chose Punk. Like they just it felt like they
Yeah,
had this nice little moment, and then it just sort of ended. There was no build, but
yeah,
the match itself was great. I forgot we haven't done a pod since then, so this is like the
yeah,
first time we're talking about it.
yeah,
Yeah, match was great. Chamber was fine. A couple Saturday nights in there. I think Cena's last one. I know that was December. Wow, it feels like
yeah.
forever ago.
Yeah, but I
Uh,
mean, a lot has happened. A lot has happened. It's really since we've last done
yeah,
one of these together. It's and and I can't wait. We'll get into that stuff a little bit later too. Just WWE as a whole, since Survivor Series. But yeah, I didn't think Roman's one was bad. I think it was a little shocking, but it was because part of me was kind of like, I mean, I think a ton of people expected Braun Breaker to win it. And when he didn't, it's like you have
what
guys
a
like,
turn!
oh, what a like,
What a
yeah,
turn!
that was awesome. I mean, and honestly, poor vision, like poor the vision right now. They've been
Interesting.
reduced to Logan and Austin Theory, which isn't horrible, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that wasn't the plan for
It
WrestleMania at
was
this
it
point.
was it was it was clearly seemingly it was plagued by injury. It was just it was the I almost forget already. Like it's almost like the original Judgment Day. It's evolved so much in an even shorter amount of time. So like
Oh,
you
incredible!
forget, right? It
It
was
hasn't it hasn't
Barnes
even
and
been a year. They were formed after last year's WrestleMania.
yeah, that's what's crazy. That was the twist. That's essentially when it was formed. You didn't know about Breaker and Bronson until a few weeks later. But yeah, it didn't even. And then Seth is back now, but he's limited. Like they're
Yeah,
only
they
giving
still
him
haven't cleared
spots.
him.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Breaker's still hurt. Like they have a
Yeah,
weird. Not, I don't know if it's a problem. Maybe they're taking their time. Again, they have 4 or 5 weeks, so they can kind of take their time. But there's still major stars that don't have a match. You can
yeah,
kind of piecemeal it, maybe, but you don't really know what direction they're going to go in.
yeah,
Oba Brock eliminates one hole that was there, but you still have Seth, LA Knight,
yeah,
Gunther. Oh my God, it's insane! It's insane that they don't have a
yeah.
match. They've announced what maybe three of them, three total. The two main events is definite and Brock, so I think three, right?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I
the
mean,
women's too. The women's.
yeah, Liv and Steph, and we have Rhea and Jade. But yeah, I mean, I think we only have 5 truly confirmed matches now.
And they're
Like,
like the pretty big ones too. Yeah,
yeah,
they
I
got the
mean,
big ones out of the way.
yeah, it's the ones that we have known. It's all the matches confirmed are all the matches that we've known since Chamber, basically.
Yeah,
And then Oba
right,
Brock. So I guess maybe
right.
5, 6, then maybe. Anyway, yeah, again, we'll get into like WWE as a whole. I don't want to get us off track of kind of the promos. Or
Sure,
any
sure.
other thoughts you want to add on just kind of the interactions that we've had with Punk and Roman leading up to this? I'm kind of my two thoughts are I'm very curious to see where the stuff with the Usos go. I mean, I think you're gonna have to use the Usos to kind of fill in some blanks for a couple episodes here and there. Again, former Raws as of this record until WrestleMania, and I feel I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna. I feel like they're semi trying to get the bloodline back together, but I think it's just that's the core bloodline. So I think they will always kind of be the core bloodline. I don't think they're trying to reignite the bloodline story personally. But it's like everybody's like flying around the internet. It's like bloodline's back, bloodline's back. Like guys, these guys have interacted forever. They basically came in together. So
Yeah, I don't like the addition of them only because you don't. It just adds a mildly confusing wrinkle to it.
yeah.
You don't need it. Like it's so now of all times, like you're telling me like they just get the band back together for this 4 week build, and it's like, are they going to be a part of it? Are they going to do the stupid run in, and it's a chaotic finish? Like it would have
I
just
sure
been
hope
so much
not.
cleaner. Yeah, it just would have been so much cleaner, in my opinion, if it was just these two faces. There's no good guy, bad guy, and it's just these top of the company guys going at it. But instead, it just already feels muddied a little bit. We'll see what they end up doing. They could be nothing in the grand scheme of things. But when they show them, especially backstage, I'm like, so they're friends again. Like even if you miss like 2 episodes, that bloodline pivots so much where you're so they like each other again. Like it's you know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Yeah, because Roman basically was like, after Survivor Series, after, Roman was it's basically like after Survivor Series, it's hey, I don't want anything to do with y'all. And now, and he's kind of kept his
yeah, it's just it,
distance, but yeah,
it's not
it's
needed.
weird. Yeah,
Just have these great promos and whatever. Who
yeah,
knows? Maybe they won't even. Maybe they were just literally just filler for the net for like they were like, all right, we have 5 more weeks. Like we just
yeah.
go out there and oh
Maybe.
wait, another thought. The Samoa Joe reference last night was incredible. Loved it. Absolutely incredible. It was literally punk porn. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like you could even see Roman kind of like not quite expect that, and he had to take a
Yeah.
moment. I was like, what do I say next? But he handled it well. Like I feel like Roman
Yeah.
from 7, 8 years ago would have been, But I mean, if he's
He I feel like Punk is outclassing him a little bit in that regard.
I'd agree.
It's Roman's great and he's come a long way, especially in the last 7 years. But like he still has moments where you're like, like he's great. He's a great character, but he's not like this master promo cutter. They're emotional, but they're not perfect. And then you put them up
Right.
with Punk, and it's like, oh man, like like the rivalry feels even, but like it feels like Punk is going in as the favorite, like Roman's the underdog, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely want to get into kind of like um us defending one of the wrestlers. Like obviously I'll have you defend Punk and I'll defend the OTC. But before I get to that, I did have one question that kind of came to mind with this whole match. Do you think this is Punk's biggest match since he's returned to WWE?
Um, in turn, so yes and no. Of course, like the yes and no ends up being a long answer instead of just a clear cut yes or no. Yes, in a career sense, I'm sure, personally too. Like this is probably his second main event. Like he's knows the near his end. Like the end is near. Excuse me, within the next 2 years probably.
Mhm.
So and probably box office too. But if I were to put up another match up there, like almost as like you compare them, it would be either this one or the Hell in a Cell with Drew, which ended up being a great match, but I don't know if it was as hyped up going into it. I think it was. It feels like forever ago. Like that was a pretty big deal when that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So, yes and no. It's hard because there's so many different categories, but I guess the short answer is yeah. Box office, like the amount of eyes on it, significance. He's walking in as the champ, significantly, yeah. I'd say so.
yeah, I think if you have the title involved there with Drew and Hell in a Cell a year and a half ago, there's definitely a lot of gravitas. I mean, that program was the best program that was literally born out of multiple injuries to multiple people at the same
I
time, and
know,
they had,
yeah.
it was
It was
honest.
great.
It
Yeah.
wasn't, it was one of those pivots that really, really worked out for WWE. Like really, really worked out for them. And I think, to me that's a
That's
1B to
okay.
this match. I think the only things that get this above it is it's a WrestleMania main event and it's a title involved. I mean, and I think the triple threat from last year is kind of up there too, but I would definitely I'd put anything with seeing where we are right now. I think I would put just about anything with Drew slightly above that triple threat from last year, even though again that was a
Yeah.
main event and it had all the twists and turns. So it was a really good build again and stuff too. But but I mean, it's I'm sure people could argue this, but it's to me it's a top two, top three at the least.
Oh
As far
yeah,
as people
definitely.
consider Cody.
Even the first match, because you forget that he came back in November. His first match was the Rumble. This is like 2 Novembers by
Hmm.
now. And then he got hurt. So there was like this long gap. So you also could put up there in the top three is the first one, the SummerSlam one, the first one with Drew, because that was like his not literal return. He was still on TV like doing stuff, but like his true first match back in
Right,
10 years because
right.
the Rumble was so brief and so that was great. That was a very memorable moment match. That whole sequence. I was in. I won't. It's a long version of it. I was in Old Orchard Beach at the time with my girlfriend, and it was just like at 11, and I just happened to put it on. I was like, "Oh my god, I forgot it's on!" And it was my birthday too. It was August 2nd, a Saturday.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, and I'm honestly, while we were
Yeah,
talking
it was a great ending to the day.
SummerSlam of last year, I was just thinking of too. I mean, him and Gunther was a great match.
Oh my
Last
god!
SummerSlam.
Oh my god! Incredible!
That one was like
Incredible!
lacking the build that I think a lot of people wanted, and I hope they can run that back before that's all said and done. But yeah, no, I was curious, but yeah, where it kind of ranked for you, but yeah, it's high up there for me. If it's not the top, it's right there with a mix of two or three. Um,
And I personally throw in all his. I should have muted myself. I'm so sorry. I was probably loud. um, it was his AEW stuff. I include it all the time in my own like 2021 onward. Not just the return to WWE because
yeah,
some of his AEW stuff I would put right up there with the other 3, 4 that we listed.
gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I definitely want to talk kind of comparison, his AEW run with WWE run here too in a little bit. But before, let's get kind of to our main topic
Yeah,
around our main topic around this. I definitely want us to kind of.
I'm here. Don't worry.
You're fine. I definitely want us. I'm going to actually kind of restart that. I forget my train of thought anyway. But I definitely want to get kind of to our crux of why we wanted to do this pod, just basically centered around this match around Punk, and kind of wanted us to take our hands at defending our wrestlers here. I definitely want to give you
Oh sure, sure,
defending
sure,
Punk,
sure.
and of course I have to defend the one, the only OTC. Now, this
Oh,
is
I
an old
love it.
shirt. I'm gonna show for WWE here, but
My
I'll,
favorite shirts they made were the Bloodline ones where it looked like a mafia family, like
yes,
really early on, like
I
2021,
need to
when they
find
were all
those. I
awesome.
need to find those. I don't have the money, but I mean that's kind of the pipe dream to kind of
Right,
actually
right.
collect all those, put them behind me somehow. Maybe I can get pictures of them. Maybe I can just get like
Oh
pictures of
yeah,
them and hang them
oh
behind
yeah.
me.
No, that's awesome.
But yeah, so I definitely want you to kind of like give me a defense of Punk. And I don't have in a way I'm like
Sure.
I want to defend Roman, and I'm like I don't have as much as I think I would like to have, but I mean I don't know. To me, it all starts with he's the OTC. We saw that with the crowd. We saw that with the crowd every time he comes out. People love him, have loved him, especially once he lost the title to Cody was away and came back, like people just like they really liked him and enjoyed him. But now it's kind of like he just ascended to another level when he like took time off, which I thought was I don't know. Wrestling fans are
Right.
so interested to me, like very fickle, love any kind of chant. But again, he's the
No,
OTC.
100%.
Crowds love him. He's a record holder, record breaker. I mean, he holds the title for most of his WrestleManias. I know Mr. WrestleMania I think kind of belongs to Mr. Shawn Michaels, but I feel like Roman is right there maybe another debate for another time. I feel, but Roman is kind of right there for being Mr. WrestleMania, just because of all the main events he's been in. And honestly, I feel like Roman's on a bad losing streak right now. He needs, it'd be nice to see that righted, and I feel like WrestleMania would be a great place to see that ship righted for him. Um, he hasn't before winning the Royal Rumble, he hadn't won a match since September of last year. He lost to Bronson Reed in a singles match. Then he lost. His team lost in the War Games match. And then we didn't see him for a little bit, but he came back and won the Rumble. So he's on a big loss losing streak, and he's also lost 2 straight WrestleMania matches. After winning the title a couple different times, defending the title, retaining the title at WrestleMania, he's actually lost 2 straight WrestleMania matches. So I feel like it's time just to, see him kind of ascend to. He is still a top guy. Let's put him at the top again. He hasn't held this title specifically. He did combine, of course, those titles when he was champion there for the 300 plus days that he was champion. A lot of those were with a combined title reign. So like this is a new title made because of his reign. I feel like it'd be cool to say that he actually has held all 3 world titles. That put if you look at the lineage, I think that's a very very elite crowd to hold all 3 of those titles. So actually, I think Punk is one of those 2 that could claim that in WWE because of the title lineage. That's very confusing. So yeah, I think my biggest thing for Roman is just is it wise for WWE to keep this losing streak going for him? If it's because it's not like we're doing a old Cena trope here where it's like Cena's going to put someone over. It's like Punk obviously does not need to get over. We have 2 very very big baby faces here, actually, in a sense of how the crowd thinks of them. And I feel like even face heel is kind of going away right now, just in the current state of WWE. But in a sense of how we've kind of always had those terms, we're essentially 2 faces, or a face and a tweener. But then it's like, well, who's the tweener too? Because I mean, Punk can get rowdy and rile up with the rest of them too. So maybe it's like tweener versus tweener. I don't know. But I think it's very interesting, kind of the dynamic between these 2 guys, because they both know how to show up in big matches. There is definitely an edge that Punk has with the mic. And I mean, Punk has been through it with Braun. He's been through it with Styles. He's been through it with Balor twice now. And it's I'm sure I'm forgetting another match there. But it's like, it's like one part of me is like, yeah, Roman has the stamina. Well, we get those classic Roman slow paced matches, but I feel like that could almost be a potential detriment to him for something like Punk, because Punk probably wouldn't mind a slow match either. But I feel it's just time to kind of recrown Roman, even if it's a short reign. When I did I did recorded some stuff beginning of the year where I think my ideal situation would have been to, and maybe injuries kind of had a play in this. But to me, it'd have been nice to see Cody not have the title. He did lose to Drew, but not even be in the title picture at Mania. Like he'd been, like they could have done him and Randy without a title, I feel, or they could have done him and Jacob. And I would have liked Roman to go back to the Universal title, or undisputed title, excuse me. And then set that up to where Roman won that, and then they could have you could have Roman and Cody 3. And maybe that's where they go if Roman loses. But I feel like, this is, I feel like we need to see Roman at the top. And while it's not the belt I would have personally put on him, I think it's time to put a world championship belt back on him.
Well, you bring up great points, because I feel so inclined to respond to those points. Like they're so accurate, but that's not my job. I have to. I'm told I have to defend Punk, so I can't. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. This whole activity that we're doing is it's great. I'm gonna put a hole in the sail, only because my initial lead in to my defense is I think Roman should win. like so it's weird. So so there's a ton of reasons why Punk can and in some people's minds should. The first one being like, he's walking in red hot. Like the reality is he right now, him and maybe another guy, like I guess if you had to choose, just Cody, just because by default, he's fresh off a title win. He's red hot. Like Punk is the I don't know about merch sales and all that, but like he's the most interesting thing on TV the last 4 months, give or take. Um, and he like to your point, like I don't think he's ever walked into Mania as the. Oh no, he did against Jericho. He walked in as the champ. And he's in an interesting spot. He's never he's behaving. His character changed, right? You talk about Roman from like 2016 to now, night and day, right? The evolution of his career. Punk appears the same. Like he's like, yeah, same guy. Like, not much change with his gimmick in the grand scheme of things, but like a lot has actually. Like he's kind of rough and tough. Like he's the bully in this situation. It's a little interesting. Like seeing this, like he's like Wolverine and Logan. Like he's this old man, and he's kind of fed up with everyone, and that's his new shtick. So there's so many statistical defense reasons too, right? I could go on and but I just think it would be good for business, right? You have him win, he's red hot, but it's hard for me to say that because I think Roman's going to win and he should win. He could hold that title. That's the thing with Roman; it's his schedule. You're like, if you win, then you're a champ, or are you just going to show up once a week? Like that's a big part of the Punk winning defense. To take that title and keep moving with it. Because if Roman takes it, it almost feels like it stalls a little bit. He's at the point in his career he doesn't need these Mania wins. And to your point about Mr. WrestleMania, you could definitely make that case in a different sense, right? So Shawn was never necessarily the main event, but like he was moment after moment. With Roman, it's almost like a sports statistic. Like he was in the main event X amount of times. Like you look at it through like a different lens. Whereas, like, you think about, like, what are Roman's Mania moments? I honestly always think of him getting choked out with the part of the chair by Edge, and I think it was 2022 or 2021. And, so Roman is still looking for that moment, I think, to some degree.
Yeah. I think part of it, yeah, I get you there. I think was Mania where he had the double pin of Bryan and Edge, or was that a different PLE that year?
Yeah, that was his first defense since winning it in like to the beginning of the 1,000 days, I think. So that was like 21, I think.
Yeah. It's 21 sounds right. I'm not the encyclopedia like our friend Tyler is. But it's I feel like he's kind of he's more of the Mania guy because because of all the main events, not necessarily like he's had moments, but Michaels definitely has had his when you compare, it's like his moments are so in history, and we're still in the midst of Roman and WrestleMania, his WrestleMania runs, where it's like 10 years from now, I think that might almost be a better argument than okay, kind of looking at current, just because those are so memorable. It's funny that you actually say it said at the start of um, like you think Roman deserves to win. I'm actually in the camp because it's like after I kind of pitched this, I'm kind of like I might have a hard time defending Roman because as much of a Roman stan as I am, I feel like actually Punk should probably win this just because he is the title holder, and unless Roman's ready to commit to the next 4 or 5 months as being in the main event picture, like and that's what I'm kind of worried about. If he does hold the title, as you kind of already mentioned, is like, what is his schedule? Or does he drop it pretty quick to someone, which might have been the plan if so many guys weren't injured. I don't know. So I find it very interesting. That's why I kind of wish it would have been the undisputed title, because I feel like you could have had him and Cody, but it's like Money in the Bank is like really really late this year. I guess they're gonna do. I mean, obviously there's backlash and stuff like that, and they're gonna they'll probably have another couple of PLEs, but there's no like major milestone PLE until the fall, end of summer.
Well, that's the thing. I think like they, a lot of people view Mania as it technically is the unofficial like end of a season, so you kind of
Yeah.
hit the reset button. So like the thing that would disappoint me is like, let's just say whoever wins, it doesn't matter. They're both older guys, and like Punk is probably due for a break. He's been nonstop for like probably 8, 9 months,
Yeah.
almost all of 2025, just to give his body a break. And so if he wins, let's just say he loses it a month later. It's like, okay, I get it. They like if Roman wins and then loses it a month later, aren't you like almost mad? You're like, what was even the point of
Exactly.
like you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think both of them are due, like, because Roman, not for age reasons, but he's just getting bigger every year. So you just don't. He's been inconsistent since last Mania, like all of 25. He didn't really
Yeah.
do
I would say since he's lost the title to Cody, he's been
all that, but maybe like 10 shows, maybe.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think honestly, I was gonna look that up here too, and I meant to. I'm the man of many screens tonight. Um, but I had Cage Match pulled up, and if it'll give it to me, since he lost the title and to Cody in 24, he's had one, two, three, four, five. He's been in 11 matches, and of those 11 matches, that's two War Games matches, um, at least two or three different tag matches. I think no, yeah, one Rumble, two War Games, at least two, if not three tag matches. So it's like, he's not working a singles schedule like he used to. And again,
Right,
he's deserved a break, but I think it's very interesting to kind of see that. It's a weird juxtaposition where it's like he should win, but will he? And should Punk retain? Maybe. I think after Finn, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit to kind of pre this match, and before we truly knew it was going to be Punk and Roman. When Balor was involved, part of me was kind of like, man, it'd be kind of cool to see um, some shenanigans happen at Chamber and Balor still have an excuse and work his way into this match. But they've essentially kind of pivoted to Finn and Dom at this point. But I feel like, man, if they wouldn't have pivoted, like they probably, if they would have done something different at Chamber and they wouldn't have pivoted to Dom, I feel like they could have done something kind of fun here with Balor, and essentially have it happen, stay on Punk, and then you give Balor one more shot at Backlash and put on Balor finally. But I feel like with this,
right,
switch to
right.
Dominic, and part of me was kind of like when Balor lost so clean at Chamber, I was like, cool. I mean, I was disappointed. I would have loved to have it on Balor, but I was like, it seemed like a weird spot to do Balor. Once you've so heavily advertised Roman and Punk, you can't really go away from that, especially with ticket sales lacking. Lower the prices, please. Anyway, but it's just it would have been weird, I think, to work him into that. And again, that kind of goes back to what you were saying at the beginning of this was what are we doing? Him Roman coming out saying a night after the winning 2 nights after winning the Rumble, hey, yeah, I'm choosing new Punk. Like drag that out so Punk doesn't know. We don't know till Chamber. It's like I hate that. Like I thought that was great, honestly, with Liv because I feel like you could have made great arguments for Liv going after either title. Um, on the women's side, but it's like I wish they could have done something different there. And again, part of me was like, I'm glad they didn't put Balor in the picture, but now kind of talking through this with you, I'm kind of like, maybe they should have tried to involve Balor. And it doesn't seem like they still won't,
Yeah.
but after Balor's been essentially kicked out of the Judgment Day, it doesn't seem like they're going to involve Balor in this match at all. And I don't know if any thoughts on Balor's involvement here in this road to
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
At the time, like in the heat of the moment, so like the build from like February to the match, it did feel very filler. Like it was just, yeah, like you face someone else for this build, and then we have another 5 weeks to build you and Roman. So it literally was exactly that. It was just a filler. Which was, it was a fine match. It wasn't like you were like upset about it. But as time has since passed, 100%, like I agree. Where you think back at it and you're like, yeah, I mean, like they could have woven him in. Like he comes out and he's like, hey, like I get a rematch, whatever shenanigans you do to get that match. So it's a little interesting they haven't. I mean, maybe they don't view Finn in the same lens as Roman and Punk, and rightfully so. Like he's fantastic, but he is not a top five guy. He's just not.
Yeah.
But what a way to make him one. You have him in a
Right.
match and he wins, and then in a matter of weeks, you just took a B plus player and made him, right up there. So
Yeah.
I can totally see it.
And he's proven that he can carry world championships. I mean, he was a great indie star, held it down on NXT when he had to kind of redo
Well,
his image in
you forget
NXT.
too. You forget too. He got screwed. Not like screwed, but like he bad luck. He was the first ever
Mhm.
Universal Champion. It only lasted a day.
Yep. And they've kind of probably brought that into storylines in the last couple of years, but it's like, okay, if you bring that up, that means you're acknowledging it. Pull the trigger. Pull the
It's the
trigger.
same with Kevin Owens. Like he's
Yeah.
fantastic, but they just haven't put a belt on him in so long because I mean, also think about it. Like it's a bit of a bummer when you think about it. It's actually like a sad statistic. Look back at the list of champions for the WWE title specifically. It's Cody, Roman. Um, like you know what I'm saying? Like, can you actually think of any other champ than those two? And then Drew's quick little 3 week thing. Like it's really been the same three guys
Yeah.
for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
World heavyweight title has a bit longer of a list in only such a short amount of time. But it's like you have two main event belts. How is it that Kevin hasn't gotten it? How is it that Finn hasn't gotten it? Like there really does feel like a discrepancy between like these four guys, and it's like you're telling me he hasn't won since 2016. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Hmm.
very odd in that regard. They don't promote their other talent. They just go with the big name, and it's like, oh, we'll give Kevin the belt in July, and it's like, well,
Yep.
who cares? Like,
Yeah. No, exactly. It's interesting here. So, to me, as we have talked, my opinion of this Mel match has changed completely from when I was literally 2 hours ago. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I feel I definitely want to talk more CM Punk with you through this because we've been wanting to do a couple stuff for a little bit here. Um, but where do you let's use what we've said here and what you've said about like Punk kind of needing a break, and like what have you kind of viewed about Punk since I think Survivor Series, really, well, even SummerSlam, but SummerSlam, Survivor Series, he had the chance against Gunther, won it, Rollins cashed in, and then he got roped into War Games stuff. Right? Yeah, he was in War Games.
yeah, I think I
Yeah,
have like
he
a loose timeline.
and then then he finally got the title again, and has had good defenses. But I'd love to hear your state of the Punk, as we like to call it on the pod.
For sure. I mean, so overall, State of the Punk is strong, right? Like logically speaking, like you don't have to read between the lines. Don't overthink it. The last 5 months have been he's number one. Like he's doing what he advertised himself as.
Hmm.
In that regard, he's one of the more interesting. It's so funny. We keep saying when he came back 3 years ago, it was his return, right? It was his big return. But as we know, he was in AEW 3 years before that. So like he had been in the wrestling community. Even if you didn't
Yeah.
watch AEW, you were aware what he was doing. And he's interesting because there's obviously a huge market and much bigger audience that watches WWE, much more international, all these obvious things. And there's a percentage, call it 30% kids and people that just started watching that this is truly their first experience with Punk. They God forbid they didn't watch from '06 to 14, you know. So in that regard I always think about it like that. Yeah, right. It's interesting. He he advertised himself as like, I'm here to be a main event guy. And very rarely do you see times when that happens in the history of pro wrestling where they're almost like they keep their promise. Like usually there's some shenanigans and that doesn't end up happening. It's just a big ball of nothing promo kind of thing. In his case, it almost feels very real where it's like, oh no, like I believe this guy. Like he came in and just is on top of the world. Um, so the last 5 months, he's been incredible. It's some of his best work, frankly. He went on a bit of a dry spell at some point. I can't remember if it was early last year or 2 years ago, where it was a little boring, and he was doing the whole like, "Oh, it's great to be here." But now, in the last few months, it feels way more just real, like just like authentic, you know.
Mhm.
So he's been great. It's some of the best work he's done in the last overall 7 years, since he came back.
Yeah. Well, and talking about kind of like going back to AEW days, um what do you think of his time in AEW? Because I mean, you obviously saw that. But what do you think of his time in AEW versus his current run in WWE? Is there any similarity you've seen between the runs? Anything that's going good for him now that was better than AEW, or vice versa? Stuff that he did in AEW that you wish you would do in WWE?
Yeah, there's definitely similarities. There's definitely differences. I'm sure it's 50-50 if I were to come up with them and write them all down. Something that's out of his control, but he adapts to it. Like you talk about adaptability, right? In certain wrestlers,
Yes.
like Chris Jericho is really famous for that, like being able to just pivot and adjust and all these different audiences in Japan and America. And like, he's been around. He's really, really good at that. I put Punk in that category now, and it's a new thing. He wasn't always like that. He's demonstrated it since he's came back. And I say that because AEW is a different target audience. It's a different theme. It's a different mood. It's a different types of storyline. It's not darker is not the word, but it's edgier. It's
Yeah.
TV 14. It's so he had to go into that and be like, I've returned. I'm here, and he kept his promise, just like he did here. Those are the two big similarities. He came in, bulldozed his way into a company, and said, like, I'm not starting at the bottom. I'll face anybody who comes out here. Like he's kept his promise in both companies, which has been a really it's the ultimate face, right? Like he in the 7 years he's been back. A ton of people always say like, oh, I can't wait till maybe they'll make him heel, and like heel Punk has a history of being incredible. His Ring of Honor stuff, his stuff with Jeff Hardy, like he can be a heel. The problem is, and it's like a good problem, he's in like Cena realm. He's too big to be making a heel at this point. They can do it with Randy because he's done it in the past and fans like it. But with Punk, it would feel almost like not authentic. It'd be like, oh, you've convinced me that you're a man of your word, and now all of a sudden you're a heel. So like it wouldn't be believable. It'd
Hmm.
just be a little odd. It'd be like a Cena run. It'd be like this is more weird than anything else. But yeah, his adaptability, his AW stuff, I love. I will always love it. It's. There's been plenty of moments in his WWE run that I've loved, but I YouTube all the time. So like some of the promos he had with like Eddie Kingston, like the way and it's just the product. It's just a difference of product, right?
Hmm.
Um, he's cut incredible promos in AEW, not as many in WWE. But that's the difference, right? It's the writing. I think it's way more his writing in AEW than it is here. Here they
Hmm.
definitely censor him, even to some degree. And he's a bit of a baby. Like I've seen it plenty of times on the internet. The problem with him is he definitely is a little fragile because there's so many things people could bring up. Like, hey, dude, like, remember he got like suspended for like you name it, whatever. And they don't. They clearly say like that's off limits. Like if you do that, he'll freak out. Like don't bring that up. And it's kind of a shame because like they used to do that in AEW. They'd be like Eddie Kingston would be like, in Ring of Honor, you called me fat and like you don't like me. Like it was like, holy, this is so raw and real. In WWE, it's Roman going, yeah, you're old, and it's like, ah, come on, like that's not So in that regard, I'll always favor the AEW stuff. Great matches, and keep in mind, he's 4 years younger when he was doing those matches. And those small amount of years, but it adds up.
It's up.
So
Yeah.
it's been great, both of them. I'll always just favor his first run.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of just getting from your because it was definitely a headline that I knew about, and heck, you and I even went to I think it was a Revolution to watch in a theater. I think it was Revolution
Incredible
a
match.
few
It was
years
the
ago.
dog collar with MJF. Top
Hmm.
five. Top five.
Yeah, and that was incredible, and it's like I almost feel like AEW was kind of what brought out the real Punk, and if that makes sense, is that a
Yeah,
fair assessment?
yeah. It was. I don't know about bringing out, but it was a good. It was. I hate to say it's going to sound insulting to AEW, but in his case, it was the minor leagues getting ramped up to the majors again. I think he was asked to do more in AEW. I mean, he was literally booking shows by the end. Like the 10
Yeah.
episodes of Collision he started were incredible.
Hmm.
So they were asking him to do more. And he said it. He's like, I'm old. He knows he's more towards the end than the beginning. I do think it is painfully obvious that even though he's been great in WWE, it's clear that behind the scenes he's overly playing his good guy card. He is on his best behavior. He's working for the pension, right? Like he's working to be engraved in this billion trillion dollar company,
Hmm.
to be a coach, to be in the Hall of Fame, to like he's trying to land in good graces.
Right, right.
And God love him, right? Like part of you is like, I mean, they'll pay for him like the rest of his life, like so, and things did end bad in AEW, but I think he was just ready to go anyways, which is like a whole nother pod. His ending
Yeah.
of his run there was unbelievable.
We could spend an hour probably just talking about that. Do
Yeah.
you and I guess kind of where I'm, kind of as you're talking, I kind of thought of this. It's do you think if he would not have gone to AEW, do you think he would have ever ended up in WWE?
Yeah. Well, keep in mind though, a huge reason he came to WWE. It's what we talk about in life, right? It's not don't you think it's wrestling. Stars align. Your coworker misses a day, they promote you because you filled in. Like some things in life just are timing and luck and the Vince McMahon stuff is a huge part of his story. Like you
Right,
can't
right.
tell that story of him coming back without that. And I believe that. He might deny it. I don't know what he says about the guy. I've seen some like backhanded comments, and like rightfully so. He just didn't like the guy. Now that he has this, now that it's out there that he's like a known not great guy, Punk's probably rolling it. He's like, yeah, I tried to tell all of you, like, this is just the cherry on top. Like, but that being said, I I like to think he would have wound up there. But the Vince leaving in the middle of that transition was probably huge. Triple
Yeah,
H has been his true boss.
yeah.
Like, I think Punk, I don't know if he'd be able to just like report to Vince McMahon. Like, he's a changed guy in his
Yeah. Is a
personal life. Like, he was like, I'm not going to put up with that. Like, I hate the guy.
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of it. And it's like just luck, I guess, right? Like, it's just a change in the
Right.
air. Like,
Yeah, no, I mean, it did seem like a perfect storm where it was an unfortunate end to his time in AEW because yeah, Collision. Yeah, that's why I did not watch any episodes, but that's why I was hearing. It's like he was doing wonderful work behind the scenes as well as on the show for that, and then the unfortunate demise of his time there, coupled with Triple H taking
yeah.
over. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed like a perfect storm. I would think you'd eventually come back and like, him calling up Hunter and been like, "Hey, you're in charge now. Let's talk." Would have happened probably a lot sooner.
I won't go down the huge rabbit hole. Again,
That's
it's
what
gonna
we
be a
do
whole
here,
other
though. We
pod.
go down rabbit holes all the time.
Right. So I might as well. I say I'm not, then I will. It's like not to be racist, but and then you say whatever. and so like a big part of it is if you look at it like reading between the lines a little bit, like let's just say you live a life where you like question everything, like which you should to some degree. My point is he debuted in August of 21. It was a big deal. It was great. So clearly his contract started August of 21. And he ends up leaving August of 23. That last match with Samoa Joe, and then the incident backstage in London, which was a great show. It's one of my favorite pay per views of this decade. All in 2024 or three. I think it was three. Anyways, if you just read between the lines, like it's a 2-year contract. His contract was up, and I think that maybe it had a week left on it, whatever, and he hadn't re-signed yet. That's just one way of looking at it. And I think he knew it from the start. He was like, I'm going to be here for a little bit. Like, I'm going to see if I still have it. And he was like, yep, I still have it. I'm controversial. I'm paid well. But I'm starting to hate it here. It's a young company. Like, all that is true. So fired, whatever all the publicity stuff that came afterwards, whatever term you want to use, he was probably fired. But anyways, like it was just like, yeah, like my 2 years is up. It just so happens that 10 weeks ago, Collision started. Collision was an incredible show. Oh my god, I went to the like the 6th episode, maybe the 7th. There was one in Hartford. It was awesome. It was just had a nitro feel, like a retro-y kind of feel, but it was new and it was cool knowing that Punk was like writing it and booking it. But anyways, the whole point is it's a shame. I just think it's not as deep as people want it to be. Like, oh, it blew up when he was fired. It was like, nah, he knew he was gonna leave. He was unhappy. He was probably just surrounded by young people, and he was like, I'm gonna go to a company that is just like the Walmart of this entire industry.
Yeah. No, it's. Well, I definitely will have to figure out time to actually dig into that more and that whole thing. But yeah, it's. I've always thought it was interesting, kind of how that all kind of worked out. But I think we're all the better for it. And I mean, we would have missed out on some wonderful feuds if it wouldn't have actually happened. And it kind of make you wonder what we would have happened. One of those what ifs if we wouldn't have gotten Punk back, kind of thing. One other thing I
Oh,
wanted to
100%. It's a total what if. Yeah.
one other thing I wanted to kind of ask in kind of this state of the Punk that we're talking, like you kind of touched on this earlier, but how much longer do you think he can actually wrestle out there? I mean, what you see from his matches and stuff? I mean, he's still putting
Yeah.
on banger matches. He's taking brutality from Braun all the time. Bronson when he was healthy. Balor was those 2 matches with Balor excellent. Obviously, the match with
Yeah.
Styles was wonderful. He's taking a beating out there, but he keeps on ticking.
I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think if I were to guess, like let's just say he has an epiphany tonight, or a doctor says, "Hey, you can't wrestle anymore." Like, let's just say tomorrow he comes out and he goes, "Hey, like Mania is my last match," and let's just say he was like forced to. Like it was almost like he was forced to. I think he's at peace with it. I think he's at a point in his career where like he's only doing this to. Well, he loves it, right? I think let's not undermine that.
Yeah,
You know, his from someone who watches like too many of his matches, right? Like he's older, no doubt. Like he's not. It's not the worst thing you've ever seen by far. He can still pull off visually fine looking, not nearly as athletic. Obviously, he almost looks awkward at times, like a little clunky, kind of. Um, but he's such a good, you know, like student of the game that he can put on these great matches. He knows how important a situation is. I think like his physical stamina, he looks gassed by the end of a lot of these matches.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say because like he's 47. 50 seems like a bit of a stretch. That's when you start to like even Cena didn't go to Cena was I think probably what 47,
Yeah, he was
46.
47, 48. Somewhere there. Yep.
Yeah. So, and I think he knows that. He's not stupid. He's great businessman. If I had to put a number, if you like made me answer, I would say one more Mania. Like he is this one, and then one more after this.
Yeah.
And he won't. He would never do like a retirement tour. I think like they might make him do it for like sales, kind of. But if it was up to him, I don't think he would do it. But yeah, I would say one more Mania. That kind of thing. Maybe goes away, comes back like 8 months later. Does like who knows how it actually ends? Well, I'd say like within like a 2-year window. Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine he hits 50. I just can't see it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I mean, again, I think the stamina thing, that you just mentioned is kind of where my thought goes there. It's like his stamina just doesn't quite seem, it's obviously there, it can do it. And I think Roman is probably actually a good partner for him for a match because Roman kind of likes to plot along
Right.
his matches. So I think they'll kind of work to their both favors there. But yeah, I just, I can't imagine if it's facing guys like Braun and Bronson and Oba and guys like that, where he has to put himself in matches, and he ain't gonna last very long at all. So
Right.
I think it'll kind of, so it'll be very interesting to see kind of how it, to see kind of what the beginning of the end is. I don't think, if he loses a title here, does he get it back for another short period and then lose it to Rollins or
Even
something?
that,
That's
e- even that in general, I was so surprised he even won a title. It didn't shock me. Like I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not stunned by this, but it's almost like hindsight's 2020. In hindsight, I'm like, wow, they really gave him a world title. Like they gave him two in
well,
AEW, so it's like,
yeah,
it's not like he's just this aging veteran that's like just there. Like he's
yeah,
actually doing things.
yeah. Well, I think to your point, he's had to really carry Raw the last 3-4 months just because of injuries. I truly believe if I truly believe a direction was to, or I wouldn't. I say I don't want to say truly believe. I would not have been shocked if it would have been. I was hoping for this, that Braun would have won the Rumble and it would have been Braun and Punk at Mania, and it goes on Braun after Mania, and kind of like you're saying, Punk gets a little bit of a break. But I think to that it's so he said I think they've had to pivot, or maybe they even put it on Braun at Chamber or something, taking off Punk sooner. But I think just with injuries they had to really pivot. I don't. Part of me wonders if this was truly supposed to be set in stone for this long. Because I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember like the really early promos for WrestleMania, because I mean, they aired that one promo where it was Cody and Roman and Brock, and I guess Punk was in that promo. I don't remember who I think it was Punk in it.
I've read places that I mean, it was specifically regarding graphics, but they had like a miscommunication with like the theme and like the all the graphic design. So I really think this Mania, and we might find out with all the behind the scenes stuff in a few months, but
We'll find out in the
feels like it was
fall.
stitched together a little. Like it feels like there was some level of I don't know. Like we'll see how this go, and injuries obviously plays a part in that.
Yeah,
Um, the size in which Mania has gotten in the last few years. I mean, it's always been getting bigger, no doubt. But the evolution of it, all these different streaming, ticket sale, like all the aspects that go into it. It's gotten to a point where I could be wrong. It's literally just a take. I don't know if they were gonna even use Breaker in the main event. I say that because like the main event has become a sacred place where it truly is like the elite of the elite.
yeah,
Like it's gonna be Roman, it's gonna be Punk, it's gonna be like you identify these core figures. Like even Gunther could apply. There's like 8, 9 guys that apply, and I don't think Braun's just there yet. Meaning,
right.
just like he's not bad at all, but it's like it feels weird for me to visualize them like really like they're gonna utilize one of those two spots for Braun Breaker. Like no one knows who he is. Like we do, but like he, I think it was always destined to be him and Seth, and I'm surprised they haven't even announced. Well, he's out. I think they're hoping he comes back. I think they're like biting their teeth. They're like, I don't know, maybe he's back in like 2 weeks. Like, like maybe we can pull this off.
I mean that could be the fun twist that we haven't even thought about here, is that we do get Punk, or we do get Rollins involved in this match, which would actually be very fitting. It really bookend last year of that triple threat, and
Right.
it really it really would. It's Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm kind of, the whole Unreal thing is very interesting. I'm sure we'll glean some information, after it, or we might get some other leaks after or whatever. And it remains to be seen. I'm invested either way, and I think that's just the big thing, is how many people still stay invested, and there is that. I wanted to touch on the other main event though really quickly. We've talked about Cody a little bit here. The other main event, the other main men's title, is Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton now. The one question I posed to you when we were talking about this pod, um, first of all, what do you think of this main event? And just in general. And do you think would you have wanted Drew and Randy instead of Cody and Randy?
Um, Frankly, I love it. I love it. I'm just as interested in it as I am Punk, if not even a little bit more.
Interesting.
Maybe it's just because it's the equivalent of Cena, but like Orton's an OG. Like Orton, you talk about. I put it in the group chat a few days ago. Like you talk about longevity. Just this ability to. It's 24 years, and he's been in a part of my life to some capacity for all this time. It's
Yeah.
it's it's unbelievable, and he's so incredible. He's so not even just like the ability to still be incredible in the ring 24 years later, but his character. He's so one of a kind. He's so unique. He's such a perfect heel. It's such a gift when he has heel runs like that, like the one he's on now. And it's coming. It sounds like it's going to be an all timer, like just what they've done so far, and the history, right? You have him and Cody. They almost feels like that's like they don't even need it. Like it's yeah, they were a faction. I get it. Randy was the main guy, but because of the whole Ted DiBiase like personal life thing, like they can't even like mention it. They can't even like. I feel like they've just been avoiding even saying it.
That's
But they don't
true.
need it. It's great. I think Drew is fantastic, but I love him. But he's dry. He's not Randy Orton. I think him and Cody are the perfect foils. It's just this old man who was the man for a long time. Like he is top three all time this century. And Cody, the new guy, the number one, the quarterback. So it's such a cool dynamic. I'm just as interested. The whole phone call thing. I don't know. I've seen so many theories. The whole royal family thing that he keeps saying, it's probably an Orton reference. Makes the most sense. But also, I've seen things that it could be Shane McMahon because it's Hunter. It's he. He's still gonna defend his family, and he's like, yeah, Shane, why not? It'll get a good crowd pop. So I don't know. I really don't know
Yeah.
what that was all about. But I'm
Yeah.
just as interested.
Yeah. No, that is interesting too. I get part of me is kind of I wish it would have gone. And again, this is just me trying, wanting to make my bold predictions from the beginning of the year come true. I feel like there's a big rumor right around Chamber time that they were going to go with this big 4, maybe 5-man, multi-man match. And I'm very glad that they didn't. I'm so glad they did not go with a multi-man match because I think that would have just really ruined the whole title picture. You know, and I think I said this in our group chat the other day. Drew is slated to start a movie at some point in the next couple months. So I guess like the title one was supposed to be short, kind of thing. But that's still weird. Like, I would still get it, milk as much of that out. I guess I wish I would have been Drew and Randy just from the fact that Drew's definitely he's not quite he's definitely got his way, but he's definitely kind of that whole um exposing the truth kind of shtick has kind of gotten old with him. But I think he's a great heel as well. And I think a face Orton, tweener Orton was good together with him. I feel like they could have had a really good. I think they could have had a really good match. I think that leaves. Here's my feeling. I don't think like you said they've kind of had to piecemeal this card together. I think there was a much bigger waiting in the wings night one main event that was going to happen, and it couldn't because of injuries. So I think part of them I think had to pivot to this match because it's like, well, we have Cody. Let's make sure we have him in the main event of night one. Then who do we have? Well, I guess we can finally do Cody and Orton like everybody wants. And I guess that's where I don't know. I'm as excited for it. Like I feel we've all been waiting for this since Cody has come back to WWE. So like it's great to have it. I just wish that, and I mean, again, they have 3, 5, they have like 4 or 5 Smackdowns, maybe. I guess 5 as was time of this recording. Smackdowns to really kind of have good promos, good exchanges, the pull apart brawls that they'll probably have every single week between these two because they can with these two. Um, the tried and true but old trope that WWE has.
Right.
Um, so I think that I think they can have a fun build, but I wish the build would have been them being friends, them almost having used. I would have wished they would have used a tag team trope of Let's put them in tag team for a little bit. Have them have a couple matches, have them hold titles, have them lose the titles, and because they lose the titles, then they get mad at each other. Um, I didn't personally think this feud had to have a title. I think the gravitas is there for the title. Obviously Orton's going for 15, which ties him with Hunter. Does that tie him with Hunter, or does he surpass Hunter with 15?
I think he passes him. I think Triple H is 14.
Okay, so it surpasses him. So I put you number 3 on that list, which is great, which is fine. You can technically put within. You can really try to pull up 17. That's technically within reach for him if he gets 15. But again, like Punk, like how many more years is this guy going to wrestle? We didn't have him for a solid year, almost a year and a half, because of a back injury, kind of thing. But 24 years of wrestling will do that. Um, so I'm not disappointed that this is a match. I'm not disappointed that this is the other main event, or the night one main event, however you want to put it. I have the other main event, but I think it's an anchor of any PLE, any show, and it's obviously something that the fans have wanted for ever since Cody came back. I'm just like kind of like, yeah, I'm with you on the whole piecemealing thing. It's like, I don't think this was the plan. I think I don't know. I kind of like Cody as a title chaser. I don't mind him as a title holder, but I think you can get a lot more out of a guy that's chased the title. And I don't know. I feel like the way they were kind of taking it off, they took it off of him last year for Cena, then put it back on him. Then they took it off of him for Drew, then put it back on him. And I feel like in a way you could almost, if you want to have a guy like Cody, or if you want to have someone else be up there in the ranks of most ever world championships, like why not Cody? And if for the next 5 years you take it off him twice and have him pursue it and get it back once or twice, take it off and put it back on twice a year. He can very easily get to that double digit range where he's up there with on the list with Hunter and Orton and Cena, and Ric Flair. But it's I don't know if that's what they want to do, but it feels like they could do that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just kind of I'm not disappointed in this, but I feel like, really, was this the way they really wanted to get to this feud? Maybe it is, but I just feel like it could have gone a lot better. Could have gone not a lot better, but could have gone a lot different and draw it out more. Where I feel like, yeah, I would be shocked a little bit. I think if Randy actually won this, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's not bad if Randy won it, but I feel like I feel like I'm rambling right now. I just, I'm conflicted on how I feel. I think when it comes to it, I'm not disappointed. It'll be a great match. I just don't know if this is quite the best time to pull that trigger.
No, I think it'll be a great match just overall. Like it's only some of these matches. I feel like they have all these promos and you have all these weeks and weeks of opinions on it, and they always end up being fine. It's just that I love Orton so much that I'm already on board with it. I hope he wins just for the giggles of it. Honestly, like he really has no business winning. But it's probably his last big Mania. Honestly, when you think about it, it's a little sad in that regard. I can't,
Yeah.
who knows? But the last time he was in a main event at Mania, like I would be guessing, but like 2009, maybe like it's crazy. It's unbelievable, frankly. The career that he's had, his longevity is insane. Uh, it really is 24 years with 1 year he wasn't around, one major injury.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm looking up the Randy Orton main events.
Oh yeah, maybe the Batista one. Danielson, Batista, and Orton. So maybe like 2013 or 14.
Well, he's another one of those guys that's been the victim of. He's been around for the career of Cena, Edge, Bryan, Batista, Triple H. He's
For
gone.
sure.
He's been
Yeah.
through around so many where it's like,
He was only like the guy, like the true number one guy. I'd say like 2008 through 9.
yeah. So at least according to good old Google AI here, he main evented WrestleMania in 25 versus Triple H in 30. As the one that you just mentioned, Batista, and so it's
Yeah.
been 12 years since he's been in a 12, 13 years since he's been in a main event of WrestleMania, which is crazy to think of for him. But when you have so many Roman main events there, when you have
Yeah,
so many
yeah,
Undertaker, Brock, main event stuff, I mean, in a way, it's like, making it in a sense, it's like WrestleMania to me is almost like the main event of the year. That's kind of what's
yeah.
always been kind of like that. So like to make it on the card, especially right now with the roster the last few years, um, even with two nights, it's kind of like, just an honor to do it. But to be the main event of the biggest card of the year, is it's just a true honor. So it's like, and I think that's what it was, he's when he's been able to, I think he's been, in 20 straight WrestleManias or something like that, or he's been in 20 WrestleManias. I don't know if it's straight. So I mean, because they obviously did the Hendry thing last year, which was awesome. That they could do that for both those guys. Really, it's nice that he's in the spot. And to me, it's interesting just in general how many ends of careers are on the very near horizon. Where we've talked about Punk. I think that Windows 2-3 at the max. Kind of like age 50. We just saw Styles have his last match in WWE, but I think it sounds like it's his last match overall. Though that was it was a weird end, but anyway. I mean, Rey Mysterio's getting up there. I mean, if Orton's been in the ring for 24 years, Rey's got to be 25, 26. I don't know if he's
There's
been.
there's some crazy ones, dude. Ray. So yeah, Orton was like '02. I mean, Ray in Mexico probably like '96. Like he's been wrestling literally since he was like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
A crazy one is Jeff Hardy made his WWE debut in 1994. Like that's so long ago. He's still doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Some age better than others. And to your point, yeah, a lot of retirements. It started with Goldberg. You have
Mm-hmm.
Cena. You have Styles. You have Sting was somewhere in there. He
Yep.
had an unbelievable retirement match. Yeah,
And Brock, rumors are Brock
yeah,
is
Brock's coming
soon,
up.
possibly this
Brock's going to be
year.
SummerSlam. It's definitely going to be SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And maybe they probably gave him Gunther, but we'll see. It feels like they might be going away from that narrative. But yeah, it's wrestling retirements are so interesting. Any sports, right? It's not just I shouldn't say just wrestling because it's so intimate.
I think wrestling is I think wrestling is different in a sense of just like you just said, intimate. How it is like, we don't really other sports do the retirement tours. Like Jeter got it, XYZ all the way, so many people have gotten it and so many people will get it in so many sports. Kobe, others. Where it's like wrestling, you're not always able to do that, like especially like Cena did. So I think seeing these and everybody views how guys should go out as Sarah mentioned a different way. You know, Edge didn't retire from wrestling, but his leaving WWE was very weird. I feel like
Yeah,
Styles was
the
odd.
whole the company thing creates an interesting dynamic.
Hmm.
Obviously, I think even behind the scenes, like a lot of these documentaries, though, Batista talks about it all the time. Like retirement is hard in that industry. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, you oftentimes don't control it, and you have the itch to go back, and so many guys do go back, and
Undertaker.
it can, yeah, like Ric Flair. Like some of them are just like
Yeah, Rick.
some of them just end up not being true. I still think Styles is coming back. My honest guess is he does not like a year long retirement tour, but he goes from like promotion to promotion. I bet he shows up in a lot of small independent shows.
Hmm.
I bet he'd love to do a Ring of Honor show, so technically it would be an AEW contract.
Hmm.
Why I can't see why he wouldn't do a TNA match. Like my
Oh
honest
yeah.
guess is he just goes from like promotion to promotion, promotion. Japan he'll do for like a month or
Oh
something.
yeah. He definitely has to. I feel he definitely has to do like the TNA in New Japan for sure. And I feel like the New Japan could open up a couple AEW dream matches or Ring of Honor, like you said.
Yeah,
But TNA seems like that should really be the final stop in a sense. it could be the first. I'm just curious. The whole Hall of Fame thing is what's throwing me off with it. It's like, did they ask him to wait until they can induct him, or did they induct him to not let him go for a few
Yeah,
more
it is.
months? The whole
It's very interesting. The biggest reason it's interesting to me is because, like, it's not to say he's not a Hall of Famer, but like they're asking him to join, do the speech, all that stuff before Cena, before Gold. Like, there's guys that have. It's not that he's not special and not worthy of it, but it's just like, why are you specifically asking AJ Styles? Like, it's a little weird in that it
yeah,
hasn't even been. It was this year. His last match was like 20 days ago. Like, it wasn't even like it's odd in that
yeah.
regard. I don't
And the
know. I
whole
really
and the
don't know.
whole gloves in the ring thing, but picking them back up, but then putting them in the ring
Yeah, I don't know.
on that special Raw. It's like,
There's so many guys that are overdue. I try not to dwell too much on the Hall of Fame, and it doesn't even exist. It's. I love the ceremony. It usually creates these fantastic moments.
it's not
But
even a true
at this
building.
point, like, how does it not exist? They even
Headquarters in
did
Connecticut. Come
that
on.
A&E show where they went around collecting. Yeah, they go around collecting all this stuff, and they have a whole warehouse. There's like multiple shows on it, and they're great shows.
Wow.
So it's like, how have you guys not put a building up in a year? You're a $1 trillion company. Like, it's just a little odd at this point. It just the fact that it keeps going makes it funny. It's like in 2019, you're like, oh, whatever. It's been a thing for 30 years, just
Yeah.
Vince's dumb idea. But then, like, 19 becomes 24, 25. You're like, wait, you guys still don't have one yet? Like, it's almost like the joke
Yep.
ended. Like,
Yeah. No, it's crazy that they don't actually have a physical building. And didn't they build like a new headquarters? So couldn't they take like the old headquarters and make that the Hall of Fame?
which is so dumb too, because I forget when I read it. It was probably last year. I would have to Google it, but I'm pretty sure their lease ends pretty soon, and they're eyeing. They're going to try to go to Vegas. I don't know when. It'd probably be next year or the year after. So I don't really know why they even built that new complex. It would shock me
Interesting.
if they stayed there.
Oh, so you think they'll relocate headquarters to Vegas?
Yeah, mostly because of a TKO thing. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure they would probably go to Vegas. I'm pretty sure because
yeah,
UFC has a big following
right.
there too.
Gotcha.
So I don't
Um,
know.
yeah, no, it's wrestling as a whole is always interesting. I feel like it's back in the mainstream, thanks to a lot of WWE things and a lot of AEW things, AEW things as well. And I kind of want to let you just kind of speak your mind a little bit too on just wrestling as a whole. I know we just had the AEW Revolution card, which was fantastic from stuff I was reading. About some of the highlights able to catch you. I know you were able to watch most of it, if not all of it. But yeah, was there anything from that AEW Revolution or AEW in general right now that's just like got you really pumped for the other for that section of wrestling? I don't like the people that pit the two together because again, you mentioned this much earlier in the pod. It's two different organizations, two different demographics that they target, two different styles that they do with their storylines and matches and stuff, and they both serve their purposes, and I feel like you can be a fan of both. I don't consume it as much as I would wish I could, but I'm still still stay kind of relevant with it.
Yeah, I think it's been this way for since they came around. Really, 2019. But by 2020, like, they were a presence. They've been a presence for about 6, 7 years now, and I love it. I think they put out a great product. They go through woes and lows in storyline and in product, just like WWE does. WWE went through a low spell. I can't remember. It was probably like December, January, maybe, where it was just boring. I just didn't care, but so did AEW. They bounce off each other so well. There's and like to your point, they're so different. They create just two different looks, two different. It really is two different companies. Like, you watch it, you're like, these are not the same. Like, it's the same idea, but even their matches are different. The pacing of things, and I love it for that. I just love the grittiness of AEW. Revolution was a fantastic card. I think I will say definitively, like, AEW puts on a better entertaining card from start to finish than WWE does. PLEs, pay per views, whatever you want to call them. Better paced, more action. Storylines might not be as good, but they're redeemed by like big pops, big moments, big spots, really good long matches. Like it's not like, oh, that was like a 9 minute really slow match. It's just each their own, right? It's not even like one is better than the other. They're so different in that regard that you just have to view them in like these two very different lenses. Revolution, you had a banger intro match. It was I think it was the Young Bucks and FTR. Great tag team dynamic. They're a top 5 tag team combo in the whole industry, and then all of a sudden keep the train rolling. Cope and Christian Cage come back. Great moment. That bleeds into like a John Moxley match, a 5-star with a Japan guy. And then you have Ronda Rousey come out, which is whatever. She gets booed out of the building. I don't really care. It was just a cool moment,
Yeah.
regardless. So they just find these ways to just have these. Someone said like, "Oh, they're like 4.5 hours," and it's like, I don't really care. I'll finish it the next day. That just never really bothers me all that much. If anything, you're getting your money's worth. You're like, yeah, I paid for this. It's such an old school, so I love it. I think it's been great. I think both companies have been through a little bit of a dry spell, but it always picks up around now, because of Revolution, because of the road to Mania. It's the same every year. It'll be probably really boring in like May and June, July, and then SummerSlam, and then you have the two companies' versions of War Games, like you have Blood and Guts, and you have War Games. So it always just has this, and every year is different. And they had a huge turnaround. AEW, they cut bait with a lot of contracts, a lot of guys that were slowing them down. Um, you know, they're both always evolving, and so I'm kind of almost going on a tangent here with no point, but no, it's been great, and I got it tuned out. And it wasn't just AEW. I didn't watch wrestling for it's the holidays too. It was like November, December, January. I just didn't care. I just didn't want to follow it, and then I'm glad I got back into it because it always, you know how it is. It always
Yeah.
sucks you back
Yeah.
in.
Always does, always does, and I think that's what's great. Again, a little bit I can keep up with AEW right now. There's definitely something to be said of they show up for their big moments where I feel like there's just been so many PLEs for WWE where it's like it's hard to get traction sometimes because you're just trying to make these cards make sense or and you're getting to so many cards you have to call one WrestlePalooza. I mean, come on, what are we doing here,
Right.
people? Like
Right.
maybe bite it off a little. Maybe you're biting off a little much. And now you're promoting all these top NXT talents where it's like, well, now you don't really have an excuse because not only do you have a lot of great talent on both rosters, you just shored up the bottom of your roster with all these talents with Oba, with Trick. Carmelo Hayes has been showing up. You got Javon Evans, probably too early up here on the main roster, where he's getting backstage segments in a match like every 2 or 3 weeks, which is fine. I mean, I don't think he has to be in a lot of matches, but it's like if you're gonna do that, like just throw him back and forth. They called up Oba. They had him just vacate the title in NXT, and then they didn't even use him for 2 months. And again, that might when you have all these injuries, throw him into something. Pull him and
Right.
Rusev
Right.
give him and Rusev like 3 matches instead of the one squash or whatever. But so it's like, yeah, I'm with you on the ebbs and flows. I feel there's been more excitement about AEW the last couple months. But I feel kind of they hit a lull kind of when WWE, was kind of really going strong around this time last year. And now it's kind of switched back and they have to, and they're going to feed off each other. They have to. They obviously borrow a lot of the same match gimmicks. AEW just has to call them something different, of course. But they do a lot of the similar things. Look for big stadiums to do it in, of course. And I even find it funny too because WWE never used to do anything post their PLEs, and they didn't really do much of a pre, or if they had a pre-show, it was a lot of might have been a couple undercard matches or whatever, and not much of this. But now they have a 2-hour pre-show and an hour or so post show. They were doing media scrum. Well, AEW calls them media scrums, but they were doing those press conferences there for a little bit. Then they all of a sudden dropped them right around the Cena heel turn last year. And so I mean, you can't tell me that they, especially WWE, borrow from each other. They obviously trade talent back and forth in a sense. They're not true trades, which actually would be kind of cool. When it comes down to that and stuff too. And I think WBD needs AEW and AEW needs WWE. They both need Ring of Honor and TNA and those partnerships and New Japan. Because they all just get better with each other.
No, it's spot on. It's just another. They've added another fold. The whole Forbidden Door thing, the whole referencing other companies, talent visibly going from one to another. We haven't
Mhm.
seen that since the '90s, and that was only Nitro and WWF, so it was very two dimensional. Now there's so many companies, and a lot of them are under the control of these two companies, but there's just more content. You can never say no to that. It's so easy to forget TNA as a network show.
Yeah,
For the first time in probably maybe 10 years, I think. So there's just so much content, and I love it. I wish there was more hours in the day.
yes,
You're only
yes,
limited to what you can. Yeah, right. But they've been great overall. It's a growing industry. It only gets bigger every year. More seats, more numbers, more streaming, bigger contracts, bigger partnerships. Like it certainly isn't going away. They're not on the decline. So it's been interesting.
yeah, yeah. I got one specific match I want to ask you about. And then if you have any other thoughts on WWE or anything, I'd love to hear them. But we just saw Oba. Or two thoughts here, 'cause I have two questions around this. We just saw Oba and Brock. I'm throwing these on unplanned. We saw Oba and Brock last night interact. Oba just I wouldn't he just powered him. And it's like holy cow. Um, I couldn't believe it. Do you? I mean, there's no doubt that's gonna be a WrestleMania match, right? I mean, that's gonna be a killer
Yeah,
match.
I think so. It's definitely. I think it's finalized by this point. I thought I saw a graphic on it.
Okay,
It was a great moment. Lesnar is a lot of things, but one thing he definitely does is I think he gives back to the business a lot. He's like the ultimate businessman, the ultimate pros pro. Um, and it's fantastic. He took a huge bump, like from a guy that can actually execute it. It didn't look awkward.
No,
It's
not
easy to
at
forget.
all.
Like this is kind of similar to. It's a lot of similar to Omos. Same idea, I guess. Up and coming guy, really big guy, almost not nearly as athletic or over as Oba is, but same feel.
Hmm.
Lesnar doesn't need this match. He doesn't need it at all. But it's a great match, and I don't know if you saw the lip reading from last night. He was like, when he told him like, "Step on my chest." It reminded me of in 2020 when they were building Drew and Brock, and it ended up being in the pandemic. There was a leading up to Mania. There was a live audience where Drew hits him with a belt from behind, I think, and you could hear Lesnar just be like hold the belt up, he's just I think he's the ultimate pros pro. It's gonna be a great match. I hope it's like athletic and like long. I hope it's like a 12-minute match, not just like a really slow kind of thing.
Oh, I think it's gonna be
But yeah, it's the
wild.
beginning
Yeah,
of the end. It's the beginning of the
yeah.
end for Lesnar and a great beginning for Oba. And I don't really care
Oh,
who
yeah.
wins. If you have Lesnar wins, it makes his retirement that much better because it's like this
Yes.
guy just does not lose. But if you have Oba win, it's like, yeah, they're setting up for the future. Like it makes
Yeah.
all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
I kind of hope Brock wins, to be honest.
I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with either. I don't know how much you listen to like the big podcasts out there, like Not Sam or CVV, but CVV had his interview with Cena. Not it came out like right before Cena's retirement PLE, and I think Cena alluded to the reason they went with the squash basically
Oh, I
between
know what you're
Brock
talking
and
about. Yeah, the reason
Cena.
he got squashed at Palooza had a lot to do with long term, like, yeah, it's
Hmm.
Brock Lesnar. Like, he's always had my number. Like,
Yep.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. When you explain something like that, you're like, Yeah, I buy it. Like I totally buy that.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked if Brock won that at all. I don't think it's not going to hurt Oba. Oba is one of the most over guys at the moment right now. He's going to crush it literally. They'll give him some really good spots. You know, Oba shared the ring with Cody. Um, during that retirement PLE as well, which I just remembered. So I mean, it's like Oba's being shoved into the spotlight a lot like Trick Williams is too
Yeah,
right now,
he's doing really
which is
well.
great.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, he seems like the perfect charisma and personality for it. I can't wait for him to be in that Roman and Punk and Rollins spot, much like Braun and Jacob Fatu,
Right.
hopefully too, because I mean, and let those guys have bangers of matches and main events for the next 10 years because they're going to just destroy it. You know, it's
100%.
exciting.
100%.
And I think you can still have, and I think, and having Brock one, I think goes furthering to a, Gunther hopefully retiring or possibly retiring him when it's all said and done at SummerSlam. So, one thing I'm very curious about though, and I mean, I haven't looked for it a lot today, but Rollins being in the ring during that whole interaction was very interesting. Part of me is kind of like, there's no way they're aligning Oba and Seth because there's no reason to align a guy like Oba with anybody, really. But then Seth posted something to his Instagram today. I wish I could remember what he was pointing to, but he was kind of like, I'm very curious to see if they somehow try to link Oba and Seth. I think you could for a short term. Um, and
Yeah, I mean,
but
Seth's in a unique spot where they could. I
yeah,
always feel like I hope they don't, and it's just like because I hope Oba just steamrolls through everyone. Like I almost don't want to see Oba in a tag team because it's like,
yeah,
I get it. You're gonna play the big bodyguard type guy, and it's like I really don't want to see
yeah.
that.
No, I think that would be a detriment to someone like Oba. There's no reason to put him in. I think Royce Keys kind of fit, or I forget his name. Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah,
And I think he kind of fits maybe something, possibly seems to fit something a little more like that than a guy like Oba. But I mean, even someone like him probably don't even need that either. But yeah, no, I just thought it was very interesting that Rollins is kind of around for that whole thing because that was that was another rumor that if nobody answered the call to Brock, that it might end up
right,
being
right,
Seth and Brock, which could make sense too because the Paul Heyman thing, and I
right.
mean, if there's a graphic, it's definitely official. But I mean, makes you wonder. Well, will Seth be involved somehow? At least he may not be aligned with Oba or vice versa, but I wouldn't, we could see if Seth is not can actually wrestle, like the potential for him to ruin like a couple different people's nights during WrestleMania, much like Drew kind of did a couple years ago, could be very interesting. Have one night have him ruin Brock's night, and then the other night have
Right,
him
right.
ruin Punk's night or Roman's night,
Why
whomever.
not, man?
I mean, if he's willing to play ball, that could actually be a fun role for him. And
Yeah,
he plays like conniving, you know, he plays that conniving, manipulative person so well. Like that could
yeah.
fit very well. So hey, maybe I just figured it out here. Probably not, but that could be fun.
Right, exactly. We have the magic answers for everything.
Yeah, and nobody will
Um,
ever hear him, but
but
we'll
you
see.
asked
We'll
me.
try.
One closing question, and then I have to go tend to my loud cats.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. No, I mean, any other things, anything bothering you and WWE as a whole, since I'm more the WWE guy, or anything you're looking forward to that we haven't really touched on.
Yeah, it sounds so generic, but I'm looking forward to Mania only because so far, like Rumble was a lot of fun. Chamber was a bit of a just didn't have the Chamber kind of feel to it. I just hope it's a great show because it feels like I texted someone else this like a few weeks ago. Mania. I forget which one it was. 2024 when Cody actually won, and the crazy run-ins and Cena and Taker. That was just so peak. It's almost a shame. Like that was so insane that like the bar is so high now that
Yes.
you can't help but compare. And it's like every show is different. Last year's had epic moments. But it feels like they really got to move on from that and just try to have these good run of shows. Especially, this is their busy time. Like this is when shows are supposed to be incredible, and even like Raw hasn't been all that compelling. The one yesterday, the most recent Raw, was very good. It was a very good Raw, so that was like a pleasant surprise. So I'm just hoping for a great show because Revolution was a great show. Hopefully they go on a nice little run, and I feel like both companies are due for a stretch of just like truly awesome stuff. That's like not like it was okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my head is at.
Yeah, we just need to get this injury list cleaned up for WWE. I don't know about AEW's injury list right now, but we just need to get this injury list for WWE cleaned up really quick.
100%. Yeah,
and it'll be a lot better. So, and if nothing else, it should make the fall and Money in the Bank and SummerSlam a ton of fun. Where we might have this weird ebb for a little bit, but I feel it'll be, if nothing else, like this gives us a lot to look forward to in the fall, and build up some storylines and
100%.
see who retires Brock. Hopefully it's Gunther.
Right, yes.
It seems like it should be Gunther. So, and I actually got Tyler working on some of that stuff with Tyler to do a pod here soon as well after this one comes out, and we're gonna talk heavily about Gunther. So I'm very curious to kind of hear his thoughts. So we'll get that out after this one. But we had to get the Roman and Punk one out. It's the main event of WrestleMania, main event of night 2, the big money match and a card that really needs a big money match, and they got to figure out potential of 12 to 15 matches on the card if given the last couple of years. So they got a lot to figure out still, but they still have 4 or 5 weeks at the same time. So. Been very interesting, very curious to see what this road is. I'm looking forward to it as well because hopefully we'll get some good surprises along the way. But yeah, no, Joe, I appreciate you coming on the pod with me, man, and just really appreciate you coming on, and just thank you for your insight, your thoughts. It's always a pleasure talking wrestling with you. It has been since we've met and worked together, so I appreciate you still taking the time to dish out on the wrestling, and look forward to many more here. Hopefully we can try to do something to get all our picks in for all the Mania matches before Mania actually happens. So, but
we can definitely do something. Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Even if it's just everybody.
Anyway, we can do it.
Yeah, no, we'll figure out something for sure. I got a couple random ideas, so we'll figure it out something. So, thank you. Appreciate your time, and an honor. I've been doing the yeet at the end of all these podcasts, but in honor of CM Punk and Roman Reigns, we got up to upper ones, but he might go to sleep. So
I'll give you one better. It's clobbering.
It's clobbering time. There we go. So thanks everybody for watching, sticking around for this. Share your comments, share your thoughts, give the video a like. Tell Joe how awesome he is and great mind he is. I just love to facilitate this stuff. So appreciate my resident expert in CM, all things Punk, all things AEW. And thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful night.